Okay, so we are going to be practicing everything that we learned on the board. I'm going to be showing you how to cut your circle skirt. Okay, in this lesson we're going to be cutting out a 360-degree circle skirt, also called a full circle skirt. And of course, to cut out your circle skirt, you're going to need your fabric of choice, and also an underlining if your fabric needs one, your measuring tape, your scissors, your tailor stroke, and of course your body measurement. Now the body measurement required for a circle skirt is your waist circumference and the length of skirt. So in today's lesson, I'll be using my dress form Mrs. Margaret's waist circumference to demonstrate today's lesson, and our waist circumference is 26 inches. Okay, so as you can see right here, my fabric has been folded twice. Okay, so you can see the double fold right here at the fabric, and this here is the point of intersection. So it is from this point we're going to be measuring our full circle, as well as we're going to be measuring the radius of the circle in order to determine the waist circumference as well as the length of skirts. So I'm basically just going to work with the length that I have available to me right here on the fabric, but you can go on to make yours a maxi skirt, a midi skirt, a mini skirt, a micro skirt. All depends on what you want. Okay, and for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be using the same length that I have right here on my fabric. So like I mentioned in our previous lesson, a circle skirt should always have just one seam at the center back, and because I'm working with a woven fabric, the fabric right here that I have in front of me is a woven fabric, a fabric that does not stretch. So for that reason, I will have no choice but to include zip allowance at the center back in order to attach my zipper. Okay, so for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to be including 1 inch as my zip allowance, and since the 1 inch as my zip allowance is going to be on one side of the seam and on the other side of the seam, making it a total of 2 inches as my zip allowance. And if you can remember previous lesson, I explained how to determine the right amount of seam or zip allowance to include to your waist circumference. So but we'll need to divide this 2 inches by 8 and so on and so forth. You just follow the same principles and procedure that I explained in our previous lesson, and at the end of the day your radius for this lesson is going to be 4.17 inches. Okay, so taking my measuring tape, I'm going to place it at the point of intersection and then measure out my 4.17 inch. Okay, so I'm just also going to place my measuring tape right there and rotate it as well. And measure the same 4.17, 4.17, 4.17, So using my tailor's chalk, I'm going to connect the points together, and you can now see when I have our waist. So the next thing, so you can just use your measuring tape to measure the waist arc to see if you have what you're looking for. Now what I'm looking for is 7 inches, because 7 inches will make the total of my waist 28 inches, okay, which is what I am looking for. So, and that is what I have, 7 inches. So we can now proceed that and then stitch once. All you need is about 1 inch of hemming allowance, but if you if you plan to fold twice, then you will need about 1.25 inch hemming allowance for that. Okay, so but I'm basically just going to work with the fabric. For yours, make sure you include your hemming allowance to the length of the skirt, and then measure out from the folded area right here. I'm going to measure the length of the skirt and mark. Okay, and then I will measure from all the way from my point of intersection to where I want the length of the skirt to be. Okay, with the measurement I get there, I'll start pivoting my measuring tape the same way I did with the waist, marking the length of the skirt plus the radius as I go. So you can see that I'm done. So what I'm going to do now is to use my tailor's chalk to join all the points together. And you can see, and I have my waist and the hem of my skirt. So all I need to do is to cut it out. So after cutting it out, you can now see how our second skirt looks like. So I'm going to attach it to my dress form so that we can see the final outcome of the second skirt. So you can see how our full second skirt looks like on the dress form, and you can, if I turn it to the wrong back side, you can see my zip allowance right there of about 1 inch on both sides. Okay, so you can see that what we have done gave us exactly what we were looking for. So now that we are done with the 360-degree second skirt, let me show you how you can do a lesser, about 270-degree second skirt